So, today I'd like to talk about different types of vocal onsets in singing and how to keep our voices healthy and our sound consistent by looking at the way we start and end our notes. Let me start with just a little bit of vocabulary with some demonstrations, and then I'll get into some exercises that can help us practice these techniques. You may have heard of 3 different ways to start a tone. We will refer to this moment when the tone starts as the onset. Some people use the word attack, but that's rather violent, don't you think? So a glottal onset, which is sometimes called a hard onset or glottal attack, is the first one. And that's the one that sounds like ah, ah, ah. An aspirate onset, or a soft onset, is going to sound breathy at the beginning, kind of like it has a little H. Ha, ha, ha. And then we have a balanced onset, also called a simultaneous onset. And that's where we coordinate the vocal folds and the breath, so we don't have a perceivable pop at the beginning, ah, ah, but we also don't have a perceivable breath sound, ha, we're right in the middle, ha, ha, ha. So what causes these differences in sound? Well, it's a pretty easy explanation when you simplify it. When you want to start a note with a glottal start, the vocal folds are going to start together. The air is going to come up behind those vocal folds, building up just a little bit of pressure before the vibration and therefore sound starts. So the air comes up here and we're going In an aspirate onset, the opposite happens. The vocal folds start apart, just like pronouncing the sound that the letter H makes. And after that air is flowing, then the vocal folds are going to come together and start vibrating. So we'll do ha, ha, ha. Now in a balanced onset, everything happens at once. It's really a matter of coordination. The air travels up and synchronizes with that moment that the vocal folds come together. So we don't get a hard pop at the beginning, like the ah, 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 and we don't have an airy start, ha, ha. We want it all to happen at once. Ah, ah, ah. Now our main goal is to have complete control over which of these we want to choose. In general, we should make a habit of singing with a balanced onset, reserving those glottal onsets for emotional impact. Emotional impact. Emotional impact, to add interest and texture to what we're doing. Now in practice, I can sing the same line to you 2 different ways. So I might sing, "And lo, the angel dear, 'tis thee." Or I could do that same line, "And lo, the angel dear, 'tis thee." So you hear how I sing the word angel differently. The angel, the angel. They feel different, don't they? Now, one last thing before we jump into exercises. What the heck is a glottis? Well, just for fun, check out these different definitions. This one is from Britannica. Glottis, either the space between the vocal fold and arytenoid cartilage of one side of the larynx and those of the other side, or the structures that surround that space. See larynx. From Merriam-Webster, the elongated space between the vocal cords, also the structures that surround this space. And from a scientific article I found while looking around on anatomy. The glottis is the portion of the larynx responsible for phonation. It consists of the true vocal cords, laryngeal ventricle, and the arytenoid cartilages, which adjust the width of the glottis. By the way, a ventricle is an open space, like the one in your heart. So pretty much glottis is used to describe the opening between the vocal cords. Or it's also used to describe both that opening plus all of the surrounding structures. I guess it's kind of like saying doorway. Do you just mean the space you walk through, or maybe the door jamb and the threshold? Very similar to that. So let's get to some practical exercises. I find that when people struggle with this concept, it's often because their habit is to start the vowel sounds with a glottal attack. We need to learn to keep the vocal folds apart until it's time for them to come together and engage. Go ahead and try the 3 sounds I modeled at the beginning with me. First, ah, ah, ah. Let's try that. Ah, ah, ah. We want to exaggerate a little bit, kind of a nice big pop at the beginning. Ah, ah, ah. One more time. Ah, ah, ah. Now let's go to the complete opposite of that an aspirate attack or an aspirate onset, starting with an H at the beginning. Ha. Let's try it. Ha, ha, ha. One more time. Ha, ha, ha. Now let's try a balanced approach. If you are part of the population that knows how to drive a stick shift, this is very much like making sure that the clutch and the gas are moving at the correct times, so we're not jerking ahead and we're not revving the engine. Here's our balanced onset. Ah, ah, ah. The throat feels open until it's time for the vocal folds to engage. One more time. Ah, ah, ah. To get rid of habitual glottal starts, we often need to go all the way to aspirate to re-coordinate the muscles. So let's try this series. We'll use the vowels E, A, A, O, U. We can try glottal, aspirate, balanced. E, 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 he, 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 he. Let's go on to A, E, 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 hey, 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 hey. You can generally hear how much less tension there is on that balanced onset. Going to ah, first glottal. Ah, 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 ah. Aspirate. Ha, 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 ha. Balanced. Ah, 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 ah. Going to O, 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 ho, 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 ho. Ooh, 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 hoo, 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 ooh, 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 ooh. Now you'll probably find that if you are using glottal starts a lot or aspirate starts a lot, you'll fatigue your instrument. So that's another really good reason to make sure that we have balanced onsets. All of these can also be applied to the offset or the release of a note. So we could do ooh, ooh, but mostly we want to make sure that we're not clipping the ends by slamming the vocal folds together at the end. Ah, ah, ah. Doesn't feel very good, also not very pleasing to the ear. Practicing any vowel sound in isolation like we just did will most definitely help. Here's another exercise that's one of my favorite ways to work on this concept. It can be a bit of a challenge, but I think that's what makes it fun. We're going to vibrate our lips together in a lip trill or a bubble, but with no phonation, just air, like. So without shutting off the airstream, we will add tone, and then we'll release the tone. This will ensure that 1, the air continues to flow, and 2, our vocal folds stay apart until the very moment that we want them to come together and create phonation. Let's try this a couple of times. So your goal is to not stop the air. We don't want to do. We want the air to continue. Probably best to work that right in the middle of our range to start. Now here's another exercise you may have seen me demonstrate before. It's going to help us work on control of the onset. We're going to put our palms together to mimic the action of the vocal mechanism. Your vocal folds sit in here, and when we breathe, they open to the rear, and when we sing, they close together and vibrate. So that's happening in here as well as out here. And we're just going to sing. We're going to open as we breathe silently, and then we're going to sing on he. We really want to notice that exact moment when we want the sound to start. He, before or after we want it to, just right when our palms touch. He, he, he. We want to have complete control over that moment. Imagine just the very edges of the vocal folds coming together gently. He, he, he. And finally, a classic sentence to scramble your brain a little bit. This sentence has been used for over 100 years to explore onset in speaking. Say this sentence. Did you say, Elliot ate an apple? Those were all glottal onsets. Did you say, Elliot ate an apple? Which of your words had a glottal onset? Which were aspirate? Did any of them feel balanced? What if you speak it on the breath, so to speak, like, Elliot ate an apple. Elliot ate an apple. Try singing it. Pick a note. Elliot ate an apple. Elliot ate an apple. Elliot ate an apple. I can practice having control over which of those sounds I want to have a glottal start, an aspirate start, or a balanced start. It would be a little bit weird to have an aspirate start right in the middle of the sentence. Elliot ate an apple. Well, now he's suddenly hating an apple instead of eating it. What else can you do with that? Too much H? Not enough? Play with it. Again, we really want to feel free to play with our instrument. It's what's going to allow us the freedom to explore and ultimately get better and better. As always, thanks for watching. Don't forget to like and subscribe, and I will see you next time. What the heck is a glottis? What the heck? What the heck is a glottis? No singing today, huh?